And then a lone voice of reason piles in. Does anyone actually know how honey is made? Fucking idiots. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name is John. His name's Andy. Now, you got to make me an offer that cannot be ignored. So let's head for home now. Everything I have is yours, step by step and day by day. Every second counts. I can't break away. More than that, another time. Because we have a song to listen to, and because it is a Friday edition, we have a lovely song picked by one of our wonderful viewers. So, as is usual, Andy and myself have gone through the list, divvied it up. This one is one which I'm familiar with, so Andy is going to listen to it. The song is by the band, the Jesus and Mary Chain. And the particular song, we've done a couple, is Just Like Honey. And this was offered up by Dace in Design, the comment on our Razor Light Golden Touch episode.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I know you've listened to a couple of Jesus and Mary Chain that I've suggested, but I know that you don't know this one, unsurprisingly.
Yep.
So, your head's on the block this time. And Andy will go off and listen to it and then come back and I'll chip in with some what info I've got and my 2 pence as well. But yeah, Andy, go off and have a listen and tell us what you think.
Excellent. Will do. Looking forward to another chance to check these guys out. So I'll run off, come back and let you know what I think. Okay, so we're over a minute into this. Kind of kicks off with this. I don't know if those drums are like a drum machine or synth drum sound that's more manufactured, but or if it's just the way the an actual drum, I don't know, quasi set, because there's not much happening there, is being produced in such a way that maybe gives it that kind of aesthetic, but very like linear and plotting, and you've got these chords a bit more on the resonant side, played by the guitar, as well as like these sort of judiciously placed notes that are kind of picked through, as well, and they couple nicely with one another. It's again, I used the word linear earlier. The whole song kind of has that sound. Like there isn't any stark difference between what would be like the motif of the verse and that of the chorus, or anything like that. I know we've still got 2 minutes left in the song about But that's the vibe that I'm getting right now. Also, the vocal track sounds like it might be slightly affected a little bit as well. All of this kind of has a slightly muddled and distant sound to it, but there's also this ethereal kind of aspect to the vocal track where it's a little bit airier as well, which I think is kind of like emblematic of the times when this was released. But yeah, interesting thus far. It kind of sounds very. I don't know. I don't want to say one note because that sounds so pejorative, but it's what you do with that one note that really determines whether or not this song is going to be good or bad. And so far, I'm enjoying the sounds that they're kind of playing with over this kind of one motif. But yeah, let's see how it progresses. Some new bit of guitar there. I don't know if that's a new guitar or just one of the other guitars doing something differently, but it's adding. It's slowly. There's a sense of that is building or slightly kind of swelling with sound at this juncture, but not too crazy, not so stark that it like hits you over the head.
Just like honey, just like honey, just like honey, just like honey.
Is that a female vocalist? Like the second vocal track?
Just like honey, just like
Nice guitars. So yeah, it was like kind of like there towards the end. When I mentioned about the end, the latter portion of the song, it kind of started to swell a bit, and it did, and it kind of reached its point, and then it kind of like that, just like Honey line was delivered, and it felt a little like the air came out. But then they, as that repeated itself, as that vocal line repeated itself, and those two voices were going back and forth, it started to like slowly build up again, and then carried us out to the end. I talked about the production. Yeah, there's almost this like it's at the other end of a tunnel sound or something. Not that extreme, but there's hints of that there. There's shades of that kind of sound to it. I'm sure very much intentional, and it adds, because the song doesn't have all these moving parts to it. It adds a depth and interest, or a point of interest to the song. Um, it's like they took this one motif and they toyed with it for 3 minutes, and kind of milked it for all it was worth to get themselves a song. And it's a good song. It's just not one that does a lot of different things. Um, it does one thing a lot of different ways, if that makes sense. At least that's first impression I got. Yeah, let's get back to John and discuss this tune.
Okay, you're back.
Yes, I am.
So we've done a couple of songs from this band. I gave you Sugar Ray when we're on Into Music, Greg's channel.
Yes.
And then on this channel, Blues from a Gun, live from Sheffield. Um, this was a a different iteration of the band. So how'd you get on with it?
Yeah, it was interesting because you're right. This was a different iteration of the band. It was interesting because I said I'm going to try to expand on this as best I can, but just from one experience, just one listen, um, it kind of had this. It's like a song that doesn't do a lot of different things, but what it does do is one thing in a lot of different ways, or it takes one thing and does enough to it to keep it kind of like evergreen for the 3 minutes or whatever that the song is running. So it's quite linear. There's not a lot of moving parts or different pieces to this song. It's kind of like a standalone movement of a song, if you will. So yeah, I'll try to expand on, I guess, what I mean by that further in my synopsis. But like the slow, almost industrial or synthesized like drum beat plods along with resonant like chord strikes accenting it. And it's a very simple beat, but it does prove to be kind of the foundation of this song, especially from like the rhythmic like department, if you will. Uh, the vocals are slightly affected in such a way that gives this kind of soft, ethereal aesthetic to the sound, despite the fuzzy nature of the music that it's coupled with, because there is some of this like constant fuzz to the whole mix that we have going on here. And in fact, while we're on the topic of the sound of the song, namely its production, it's kind of like this slightly muddled, like I mentioned, fuzzy, and it almost has like a distant sound to it, like it's just a little bit down the tunnel or down the corridor from you, which I'm sure wasn't.
Yeah, just to interject here, sorry. You're right talking about that, and I've always felt it gives almost like a not a dreamy, obviously, but almost like a fairy tale quality to it because it's the way he's talking and the way it's done. It is
Mhm.
like slightly echoing, slightly distant, and yeah, I don't know. It just always for
No,
me feels like a fairy tale.
you're
But yeah,
right. You're right. I mean, I didn't fairy tale didn't come to mind, but all the things that make it fairy tale like in your mind are what I was picking up on. They're
yeah,
definitely elements that they were using. Um, and I'm sure that was an intentional thing, like an artistic taste that they were going for. So I'm not. I'm just saying, simply stating that I noticed it. And actually, I kind of
yeah,
liked it
yeah,
because it was intriguing enough to be like, but why did they choose it? What effect were they
yeah.
going for? Right. Um, there were these really nicely placed punctuated guitar notes as well that pepper the song and act as like a nice counterbalance to those resonant striking chords. And after the 1 minute marker, these notes become these sort of singular notes become a little bit more prevalent. And speaking of the resonance of the guitars just in general, because even the single note pluck had some resonance to it as well. Um, these I'm like 90% sure that this song was either recorded on or like, written on a semi hollow guitar because of all the this like down the hall resonance through the notation and the composition and the way things are structured. A hollow guitar is inherently going to enhance all of those sounds because it's like the micro version of what you're going for. It's like the Russian nesting doll. It's like, well, let me do this aspect of it to give it a little bit of an open sound, and then let me do this aspect and this. And so with each decision, it's fortifying the sound of like slight distance. And a semi hollow guitar is going to give you that. So I think that that's what I'm hearing. I don't know. I may be crazy. I had a buddy that could tell me the difference between a Telecaster and a Stratocaster just by listening to it. I'm not claiming to have those abilities, but this does sound like it was recorded on at least one hollow-bodied six-string guitar.
Is
Um,
uh, is is he autistic?
no, no, he's not. He's not.
Sorry,
He is artistic though.
fair
Um,
enough.
but yeah,
I
there is
know.
this there is this depth from the sound that you're getting all throughout different layers and levels to the tune, which again is what I'm speaking to or what I'm trying to perhaps not so artfully or eloquently putting together is that this idea of it's one thing, but they're making all these decisions that affect its sound and make it not so vanilla and bland in 3 minutes of the same ish sounding stuff, because there's all these choices that they're making, from production to instrumentation to what other how the band members are commingling together during these parts that keep it all fresh and nice. There's also another more melodic guitar part added to the track around the 130 mark, and the song begins to swell, and I'm not talking fervently. It's just noticeable, which is probably the right, at this point of the song, the right thing to do. You know what I mean? You don't want to like just shock in the middle of the song. Here you are thrown into this crazy, complete dynamic shift, but it's a nice swell that occurs. It's almost like the lungs taking in the air, and then there's that line, just like honey, that happens, and that's like the song breathes for a moment and kind of calms back down. But it does kind of pick up after that as this refrain is continued. The song kind of swells a little bit more again, and I'm thinking at this point, I'm noticing that, do we have like a female vocalist that's now accompanying the main singer for this like honey portion of the song towards the latter half, or someone just singing in a much higher register?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I
because
think
that's
that's a higher register thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I may have referred to it as the female vocalist because it was such a higher register compared to the sort of, the original singer, the main singer of the song. But that, regardless of that, that's inconsequential to the fact that it sounded really good. And I enjoyed how they layered this second vocal track that kind of came out of nowhere. Um, and I don't really mean this as like any sort of slight against the song, but it is. I don't think it's arguable that it's not like kind of one note, in the sense that it's doing one kind of major musical motif, but it's what they're doing within that, and how they milk out of that one notedness all these other, like, this ability to keep it fresh and pleasant to the ear. I think that underscores the simple beauty of the song too. Not every song has to have all of these like loud, quiet, loud, minute and 20-second bridge thrown in there, a crazy lead. None of that needs to happen. You don't need no song, or not every song needs that, I guess is the point. And this is one of them, because I think this is really done. This is really well done, how they kind of like crafted something and then toyed with it and manipulated the music enough to make it, at the end of the day, a really, really good track. So yeah, I enjoyed listening to it. It didn't blow my socks off, but it was impressive in some of the decision making that I noticed as the song went through.
Okay, cool. I just looked up while you're talking. Backing vocals, Karen Parker. There you go. So you as well.
There you go. Okay, good.
Never noticed that before, but so yeah, this is a great pick from Days in Design, and it's funny listening to this again because I listened to the album. I don't know, last time I listened to it about 6 months ago, but when I listened to it, I'm transported back to when I first listened to it and all that. So context is a lot with this. This is their first outing as a band, and they had been going for 3 or 4 years at this point, experimenting. There's various clips you can see of them, and what a fucking noise they make. And it's just, some of it is really dreadful, and they're fine tuning and trying to find their sonic palette, as it were.
Yeah.
And first sort of, this is very different from from the rest of their albums, and each one develops in a different way. But this is also amazing, at the time.
So what year is this? This is
1985.
their first.
Yeah.
1985. Okay.
So, you've got basically, 80s electro pop. You've got the starting of sort of college rock, jingly jangly. Smith's just broken up. Yeah, no, haven't, still going. But this was something very new, although it isn't very new because it's borrowed sounds from other things, but
Yeah.
the way it approached is very new. So we've covered the band before in previous episodes. So I'll put some links in the description so you can go back and check all the various stories about them and their antics of these merry men. But just to recap, the Reed brothers. So Jim Reed vocals and guitar, William Reed vocals, guitar, Douglas Hart bass, and the wonderful Bobby Gillespie on drums. This is the opening track to their debut album, Psycho Candy, 1985.
Wow, so this is an interesting choice for an opening track on a debut album. Now that
Mm.
you like with all that information, that's you would think that they would be encouraged to put something that's a bit more like grabs your attention, and more like immediate, I suppose. No, again, no slight against the song. I really like it, but it's just an interesting choice for a hello, how are you? Here we are track.
I don't. I'm just trying to think of like albums around them. Did they used to open with Grabber, or did they used to open with a This
Well,
is
hey,
who we are?
you're it's probably better that you address this because I'm of the age where that I think that became the trend, right? And I'm not going to remember
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it
I'm
started
not going
being.
to say it doesn't, but I just, this doesn't surprise me as an opening track.
Yeah,
It's an
okay.
interesting sound in quite a gentle way as well. Um, and a lot of their influences are right on the sleeve. You can feel it straight away. So for the album, all songs written by the Reed brothers, and Jim is lead vocals on all of them apart from one track, It's So Hard. So this album is considered a complete landmark album,
Mhm.
real milestone recording. The blend of feedback and noise with these pop melodies is hugely influential on the shoegaze scene and basically alt rock as well. So Psycho Candy was recorded in 6 weeks and cost £17,000. I think they got their money back. The music from the critics has been described as bubblegum pop drowned in feedback that fused melody with obnoxious bursts of white noise. And this is one of the more gentle songs, obviously. Um, but yeah, all the sort of influences been brought up. So the 60s pop groups. So stuff like the Shangri-Las, Ronettes, Beach Boys, Rolling Stones, alongside the sort of old rock like Velvet Underground,
Mhm.
Stooges, and Suicide from the 70s. I mean, listening to this stuff again, just by coincidence, I was listening to White Light, White Heat in the car, and Sister Ray, the track by Velvet Underground, is just so influential. And that's so, years and years before, it's been copied so much. This noise and this use of, and there are other bands I guess did it, but that's the one for me. So it just struck me how influential that was. So the album reached number 31 in the UK charts and actually spawned three charting singles. They were like upper echelons of the charts, but somebody bought them. They're still made it in there. So Never Understand, You Trip Me Up in the third one, Just Like Honey. Um, Just Like Honey itself reached number 45 in the UK singles charts. Um, and just as a reference, the opening drums you mentioned, that beat, basically copies the Ronettes' Be My Baby. Dun,
Okay.
dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun.
Yep.
If you imagine it done in a cleaner way, a bit more sort of Phil Spectored up,
Yep.
and then bang. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I can
So
totally hear it now that you mention it.
Just Like Honey was actually ranked at number 2 in the NME Tracks of the Year list for 1985. The first single, Never Understood, was track number 1, ranked number 1. So they got the top 2 tracks of the year from NME. Um, and yeah, my sort of introduction, just as a personal thing, was I can't remember. It must have been this actually, but yeah. So I got this Some Candy Talking EP, um, which at the time I think for yeah, Some Candy Talking wasn't included on the album, but then I think it was later in reissues. It's absolutely fantastic, and again, it blew me away. And then I went back into the album. They're also one of the NME sort of free giveaways as well. Really cool stuff. The song itself has appeared in several sort of films, most notably in the closing scene of Lost in Translation, 2003. Uh,
Oh, okay.
Hanson, and he does the thing and he whispers in her ear and all that crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's where it gets interesting. So the lyrics are very, very simple. And then we'll get into a bit more about the song itself. So listen to the girl as she takes on half the world, moving up and so alive in a honey dripping beehive. Beehive. It's good, so good. It's so good, so good. Walking back to you is the hardest thing I can do. That I can do for you, for you. I'll be your plastic toy. I'll be your plastic toy for you. Eating up the scum is the hardest thing for me to do. And then the guitar comes, and then it's just like honey. 16 times, just like honey, just like honey, and then just like honey. And that's it. Now, here's where the fun begins. So I went onto the lyric website just to grab the lyrics, obviously, rather than write them out. And they have little discussions below from various members of and contributors. I have to say, on various websites, the badinage reaches new depths of asinine comments between fans regarding the meaning of this song. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of what they said because it's really fun.
Please.
One of the comments goes, if you think this song is only about sex, then you have limited the song. Does it have sexual undertones? Yes, very much so. Are they explicit? Not at all. I would say the song is about a relationship and the things that we choke down for the sake of love. So the next commenter says, it's about oral sex and loathing, plain and simple. If you think it's about relationships, then you are sadly, capital, sadly mistaken. Then the guy says, definitely about cunnilingus. And then he quotes, I'll be your plastic toy. Eating up the scum is the hardest thing for me to do. Come on, what else could that possibly refer to? Thankfully, somebody with a cursory knowledge of logistics chipped in afterwards. Well, if he's given her a head, then she would be up and he would be down, spatially speaking. Just saying, is all. And then an alternative theory is thrown out. Clearly, to me, every other stanza in the song quotes the words of the girl speaking to the other half of the world. She's agreeing to leave her natural sweetness behind to go back into the world. I'll be a plastic toy. She's offering a plastic version of herself because that's what's wanted from her. In other words, I think the song is written from a female point of view. And then the response is, that's the most retarded thing I've heard. And then below that, the next one is, this is not about oral sex, you bellends. Now, I mentioned the films and the inclusion of the song in the film. Mentioning Lost in Translation on this particular website doesn't go down well. So the comment: this song was around. This song was around for 18 years before Lost in Translation. So stop fucking mentioning it. And then the next comment: people have heard of this song before that pretentious movie used it are indeed cooler than those who have only just heard of it. It's a fact. Get over it. And then the next comment: people who only heard this song recently are not cool. Wow. So some people had the nerve to be born after you. Seriously though, that's pretty fucking retarded. And then, and then a lone voice of reason piles in. Does anyone actually know how honey is made? Fucking idiots. That's my favorite
Finally,
comment.
the hero we deserve.
Yeah, and then there's always one who says the song is about cocaine addiction. I did scour the comments. I couldn't find anything about vampires. I do
I was gonna
apologize.
say zombies, vampires, Jesus Christ, anywhere in there?
But yeah,
God.
there's a cultural approach. Somebody said the song is about the 1958 play titled "A Taste of Honey." The film is about forbidden love between a black man and a daughter of a single mum in Salford, near Manchester, and that was completely ignored by everybody else. There's one guy who said, actually, and this is a fairly sensible comment. He said, the song has three basic elements: frustration, love, and sex. It sounds like she's moving up in the world and he's happy for her, but at the same time, angry and frustrated by it. He feels like he's inferior. I'll be your plastic toy is a cleverly veiled sexual reference, but also another way of saying no matter what, he loves her and he won't leave her.
Yeah.
So, you take it's one of these songs that's very subtle and they're very. It appears simple, but again, the sound they created was, unique at that time, and it has that dream. I mean, it's very easy to say that dreamy quality as in
Yeah.
dream pop. You got the Cocteau Twins stuff going on as well, and the two of them really did shape a certain avenue of British and then continental and American music for years to come. Just as a footnote, after all that controversy, in 2021, Time Out named this song the 20th best song about oral sex. Um, in an article, Reel Around the Fountain by the Smiths was number 18. The album
much
has
much
something
to
else
the
to watch.
chagrin of half those people's opinions in the comments section
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
wrote
yeah.
from.
Yeah. And the other half, I got told you.
Yeah.
Um, the album has frequently appeared in best ever album lists, such as Q Magazine's 100 Greatest British Albums Ever. It was number 88. Rolling Stones Magazine's 500 Greatest Albums of All Times list. In 2003, it was number 268. And then a revised list in 2012, it was 269, so it dropped one place. The magazine also ranked the album as number 45 in its list of 100 best debut albums of all time. Slant Magazine listed the album at number 38 in its best albums of the 80s list, saying, shaping fuzz into a potent tactile instrument, the Jesus and Mary Chain helped establish the style of distortion-laden fogginess that would eventually become the foundation for shoegaze. And Pop Matters included Psychic County in their list of 12 essential 1980s alternative rock albums, saying it may still be the only noise pop LP anyone ever really needs to own. The album was also included in 1,001 albums you must hear before you die. So really quickly, there's Debbie. I have to do this. So here it is. Jesus and the Mary Chain, just there, and it is right next to Tom Waits' Rain Dogs. Oh, what a banger. New Order, Low Life. I bloody love that album. It's my favorite, not everyone's, but it is mine. Next page, Dexys Midnight Runners, Don't Stand Me Down. What an absolute belter. And then the other way, Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, and the Smiths, Meat is Murder. What a time
Yeah.
to be alive.
It's in good
Yeah.
company, yeah.
Brilliant. So that is just like Cuddy, the Juice and Mary Chain.
Excellent choice. It was a good song, man. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's really interesting. It's not their best song by any means, but it's starting to sort of chip away at the coalface in terms of how they're shaping their future and their sound.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really interesting start. Okay, I'll wrap things up and say thanks so much for listening to this, Andy.
Sure.
Folks out there, Days in Design, thanks so much for suggesting it. Really excellent pick. One of my, it is a favorite of mine. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, please hit the like button and drop some comments as well. Your thoughts on JMMC and their output, Psycho Candy, this song as well. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do and help support this channel. We really appreciate everyone who does. And also drop some comments on various other episodes, and we could include your song on another Friday episode. But that being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.